Watch the Fling Show live on YouTube Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central Time.
Y'all wanna know about the mystery of flight? Y'all wanna hear about the scene done right? So kill your TV and just come outside. We're gonna take you on a beautiful ride. The Fling Show. 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 TV and just come outside. We're gonna take you on a beautiful ride. The Fling Show. 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 About the scene done right. So kill your TV and just come outside. We're gonna take you on a beautiful ride. The Fling Show. 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 That's what I thought. The Fling Show. The Fling Show. The Fling Show. The Fling Show.
Makes me laugh every time. Well, welcome to the show, folks. I'm Chris McClung, one of your hosts, and I'll bring my co-host on here in a minute, Mr. David Himmeline, in just a moment. But until then, let's go ahead and start off with our show sponsors. We need to thank Lone Star Disc once again for everything you do. Great showing this weekend at the DDO as well. Big things happening. More discs are coming out as fast as they can. Just doing amazing things up there in Conroe, Texas, and we really appreciate their sponsorship of the show. Please, if you can, they do have some leagues on Thursday. They have a flex series going on. Check Disc Golf Scene for signups, and I know they're playing tomorrow as well. So get yourself signed up for the Lone Star Flex out there in the Conroe area. Now, up for the news of the week. We have a special guest on that we are going to be talking about an event that's just around the corner on this weekend. But until then, we have to keep helping the old folks membering. And that means Hemi as well. We have to continue to remind them that we have the Don't Call It a Throwback Open, a C-tier event out there at Shawshank Disc Golf Course. Its sign up is already ready to go October the 28th. It is a PDGA age protected division starting at 40 years old and up. So get yourself signed up. It's going to be the perfect time of the year. Much cooler than it is right now. That's for sure. The PDGA B tier. Don't Call It Throwback Open. But I digress. We have a lot of things coming up on this show. Also a special segment that we did with a local just down the road. And I'm going to let Hemi bring that man on. David, how you doing, my friend? How was all the disc golf watching of the DDO?
Oh, man, it was good. Both sides, MPO, FPO, produced very much entertainment. We saw a newbie, not newbie, but a 10-10 rated player take down the win, and pretty much wire to wire, Parker Welk. And if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me on this. I'd have to look it up. I think the guy was perfect on the weekend except for laying up for the win on his putts, at least C1X. The guy was a machine, and he did not flinch when it came down to the pressure time. And he ended up with a 2-stroke lead with 1 hole to go, laid up the putt, boom, got the win. It was really cool to watch. On the FPO side, we watched Haley King take it down over Holland Handley, who looked like she had it all the way, the whole tournament. And then all of a sudden pressure, I saw a lot of pressure putts, a lot of meltdowns, not just meltdowns, but just, there's a lot of pressure there. These guys are making a living now and doing this. And so it means a lot. And I think that pressure kind of gets to them. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but I remember when I was playing, the biggest tournaments, I always putted the worst, or it seemed like, it would like, how can I miss a 20-footer? Well, nerves, and we saw those nerves play out. And on the other side of it, we watched Parker handle the nerves. So great.
I have
watching,
a question,
man,
in regards to this tournament, because I know it's extremely near and dear to your heart. You won this event when it was called the Glass Blown Open, and kind of an unknown as well when you won it. I remember the story that you love to tell, which is an awesome story in regards to you being able to win that tournament that day. But kind of walk me through what Parker was going through, because it seems like to me disc golf has kind of taken that turn to where it's anybody's tournament, because these kids are so good now.
Man, no kidding. It's kind of all come together for a lot of players. The skill set. I don't think it's all that hard to pick up all the skill set that disc golf requires. It just takes a lot of time, takes a lot of dedication, all that stuff, a lot of putting, a lot of good advice from peers and people that you respect and all that. It takes all that. But I do think when you compare it to stick golf that we like to call it, I think it's much easier to pick it up. I think it's much easier to kind of the learning curve is a lot quicker. It's easier to master, I think. And so what we're seeing is the effects of all these kids who grew up throwing a disc. We talked to Emerson last week, and he said he was like 3 years old when he was throwing, and that, there's a couple of things. I'm going to digress here because I wanted to make a point about something he said that really kind of was impressive to me when I made mention about his type of putt maybe breaking down under pressure, and he goes, all putts break down under pressure. And he corrected me on a lot of things. I took a lot out of that. You guys go back and look at and watch that. There's a lot of cool stuff from Emerson. He's really wise beyond his years, and making, he's up in the top 10 again. He's competing for the victory every week, it seems like, on the Pro Tour. The other thing he said that I think you with your edits, you kind of like missed this part, or for some reason you cut it out. It's probably because I said something silly or something. But anyway, the thing that I wanted to mention about what he said, what really meant a lot. Also, there were a lot of aha moments for me listening to Emerson when we interviewed him, and one of them was he talked about. I said, well, how do you know the disc, because I go out there and I compare it to a destroyer, compare a warbird to a destroyer, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, just throw the disc, and there's nothing to compare it to. You just throw it and see what it does. And I loved that. It was like, he kind of gave me an aha moment, because, I'm in the process of trying to figure out all these discs. And now with that one statement, it turned it into fun for me, because I've been out a couple of times this week and went out to Terramont and got out the Harrier for a roller on hole 2, and it's the long one. It's the long par 3, and then I also tried the tumbleweed for a roller on hoe. For me, it's a great roller hole. It's like the best roller hole in town for me. And I pulled those out and, basically just started having fun with the discs as opposed to going, okay, well, this is a blank, or this is a blank. And no, it is what it is. And so in a sense, he gave me a whole new start because now I've got a whole full new bag of just, treats. And so anyway, thank you, Emerson. So anyway,
well, I'm
what were we
glad you
talking
brought
about?
that back up because it wasn't that I cut that out, but I think that you realized, and y'all both did, after about a third of the interview that we started, y'all heard this is recording.
Yeah.
Once again, for some reason, I always failed to hit that dang record button sometimes.
No, you did
That's
a great
why
job.
I had to re-record the intro at the end.
Yeah, right.
I knew I'd missed that, and
No,
I didn't
you
want
did
him to
great.
go back over
You
it
really,
again.
you really did a good job. It was just that one point that I wanted.
Oh
to
no,
bring out.
the whole thing about the finding of the bag and what you asked him and how he figured it out. Oh man, I was kicking myself that I missed that one. Trust me,
It was brilliant.
It was, and I'm glad that you
also
remembered it like that because
and it also lets you know and brings up, it's like, okay, this is why he's where he is, because he's approaching each disc as it is, and he's not out there comparing it to other brands or whatever, he's just throwing the discs, and he does it really well, by the way. So
sure does, and I think that's kind of funny. That may lead into our special guest and his knowledge as well, huh?
Oh man, we had a lot of fun going and having a visit with Mr. Jimmy Dean. I've been a fan of his riding and also just his whole vibe that he puts out at Spring Valley. And anytime when I'm driving Uber and somebody happens to be a new disc golfer or whatever, they're interested in it, I'll just send them to Spring Valley. I say, go see Jim. He'll hook you up. And it happens a lot, because I'll bring it up or something. We're told we'll be talking about sports or something or what we played. And I said, yeah, I kind of gravitated towards disc golf. And they're like, well, oh, and a lot of times they know what I'm talking about and they're interested. And they say, well, I've heard that those beginner packs are blah, blah, blah. And I was like, don't get a beginner pack unless it's a Lone Star disc. You could get one of those 3 packs or whatever, but the main thing to do is find somebody who knows the discs, and nobody knows the disc better than Jim Dean down there. And we saw that, and you'll see it on the interview. I was like getting ready. Jim was kind of getting everything ready. We were in making room in the storage room where nobody gets to go into the storage room, and we set up the interview in there. While he was getting set up, I just got this idea, and so I just started grabbing discs. Sorry, Andy. So grabbing discs off the shelf, and with the little game that I came up with, and for Jim, and man, did he knock it out of the park. But anyway, so I guess without further ado, let's roll the clip. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Good to be here.
Thanks a lot. First of all, I want to say personally, the whole reason for this, and I told Chris, is just to appreciate, because we love what you do here at Spring Valley. I love the articles. I think of you and your articles as kind of anti-Hemi. You guys know what you're going to get, but give us a little brief history of how you met Andy and how this all came about, how you came to be sort of a fixture here in Spring Valley.
Oh, that's not loaded. I was out of work and she noticed. And my brother-in-law got me into disc golf. I think it was late 2011. And he had bugged me for all of a year or more. And I had thought, I just kept hearing frisbee golf. I never envisioned, what disc had become since, well, we started on June 1st, 1983 at the era. And he just took me out, and I fell in love with the TL, learned its name, and I remember losing it here, and John called me and said, come get it back. Okay, cool. And I forgot to, and they sold it as used. I remember being bitter at the time, so I don't worry about it when people say, but you said you had my disc. Yeah, when we do Lost and Found, because, yeah, that was a year and a half ago, my friend. But I come back here when I start getting in disc golf a little heavier, about 7 years ago. And right then, my brother-in-law, his name's Calvin, watching me throw it, he said, "You need some understable discs." I still remember what I said. I didn't have a clue what it meant. And so this is maybe, I've been here just over 6 years in April, and this was perhaps the Thanksgiving before that. I start looking up understable definition of disc golf. It's that recent. And I end up in the dgcoursereview.com message boards. And I start learning how to speak disc golf by what those guys say. Just a little bit, just enough to learn what understable meant. I got what I now think was flippier discs. Started having more fun, getting more out of my throws. Didn't have to improve anything about my game. Would you've seen my drive? I didn't. I have days I throw putters just as far, and you see me with putter, it's like, wow, I can't wait to see him drive, brother. You just did.
On my way out, I've been going through in my garage. I keep all these discs. They're kind of like right at the garage door. That the ones they're actually laying there. They're not on the shelf. And two of them that I took out of my bag that I have been not able to replace. One of them is my fuse. And the other is my beat up flippy skin. That was one of the first dynamic discs I ever received, and it's my flippy stuff.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, and I forgot to grab them. I was going to bring them. We got a little game we're going to play this.
Oh, okay.
For you. But I didn't grab them. But I started thinking about it, and for some reason it popped up in my head like, that's the one thing that I haven't been able to replace from a Lone Star. A fuse type disc, and not the BB6, because I like the BB6, but it's not as big. It doesn't feel as big. So go ahead and continue on this vein of flippiness, because I think it's important for especially beginners to know. Just like you said, your game probably started coming around.
Yeah, well, I learned about flippy stuff. That was the key part, and I got into a pro level and just started beating it up because I found out that the stability pulls the disc down out of flight. It's fighting your power. If you have no power, there's no point in throwing a disc meant to tame it. I got to be a big fan of the mid-grade plastics. Some companies have almost forgotten as far as drivers go, but it's amazing. Innova's Pro is the best example I can think of, although Discraft is working with their new Elite X. We'll see what happens there. But it's just that long, pured out flight of premium disc after you've worked it for 2 or 3 years. Any of you have the one disc you can throw, but the new ones are wrong, that's why. You've beat out the turn resistance, the fade, you've straightened it out, and that's why you love it, but you can find that in a new disc that has the numbers you've beaten your disc into. Fusion is on my car. It's pretty beat up.
Well, I'm in the process of totally renovating my bag and going full on Lone Star. So the reason I'm talking about this is because we're gonna have this out online, and maybe go to the powers that be, and we'll start working on getting that fuse type disc. That comet. And it may be there. It may be there. Which it brings me to a question about. They're putting out so many molds, left and right, and so many different plastics, and there's just so much to learn. How did you go about learning all the plastic that Amy has in her shop?
Again, I went to those old chat boards on Google, 10, 12 years out of date, where everybody talked, and I got the entire history of these plastics, which is good for the older companies. The new stuff, thankfully, you can learn it as it comes out. And Lone Star, for example, I don't know quite all the intricacies of it. I tap one of our local swathies on their team. And that's what I used to do with a lot of these. I tap the local experts. It's like, okay, but how does it really fly in that plastic? What's the break-in rate? Find guys who were nerdy enough like me to be noticing those things and talk about it.
What's a break-in rate?
Just the break-in profile of the disc, how fast it happens, how quick you can take how quick. My example's always gotta apologize there, but I threw them since I was a kid in disc golf, which is 39 years old. How long it takes a wraith to go from something you can count on to fly straight, a little bit of wind and skip off to the left, and until you throw it and it flips over like this and is gone forever. until it runs out of steam.
So-
It's about 2-3 years on your.
Why is
disc.
there not a company that sells beat up discs, or is there a way to speed up that break-in process?
The classic ways are to send your disc for a long low flight or across a parking lot. Example.
Grind the bottom.
Yeah, there's a flashing here, often on most manufactured discs, and it's not part of the design. It's not supposed to be there. It's okay per rules to sand it down, but it's often faster and more fun to throw your disc. So find a nice big parking lot, just let it across it. A less crazy and destructive way and less damaging to cars. I'll throw grenades straight up into the air, hard down into the ground. I do it about 2-3 dozen times. All those compressions and impacts.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that because Lone Star's plastic, just to me, seems indestructible.
But the original Mockingbird mold nailed it.
Yeah, that was the first one that was put in my hand at Bear Branch. Travis says it was somewhere else, but I swear my memory is Bear Branch. I'm keeping that memory, Travis. You can't have it. So he hands me this unmarked, unstamped, nothing on it. Perfectly tooled back when I call them zippy. It's before they kind of sanded the mold. They had kind of
Oh yeah, I had one of those.
Yeah.
It's a little bit. It's actually a slightly wider rim on the front. Yeah,
yeah,
those were
and
nice.
they were zippy, you know, because when you let them go, and just like they're penny putters in that same plastic. My fingernails, because I play guitar, my fingernails would make like an album sound like exactly.
Yeah, I know.
There you go.
They were zipper topped.
And those things were, I don't know what happened. Chris has a couple, I think, on the wall, but
I wish I
hadn't
knew.
had two of them. I threw them until they were done,
I still have mine. I wish I know you're gonna bring them up. I'd have brought it.
that was the start. Okay, I want to play a little game. This is this is a game. I just kind of came up with this on the web here. I don't even know the title of it, but I want you to look away. I'm going to hand you a disc, and I want you to kind of predict what that moment is.
Okay.
And the first one I've got is in my hand.
I hope we don't have to edit out this entire segment.
Oh no, these are softballs, soft pitch. You can do this. All right, here you go. They're all putters too.
Oh. Yeah. Playing a Lone Star game or?
Yeah, well, I got some other companies, but I got a lot of Lone Star.
If it feels like is it the new Alpha Plastic on the penny? What am I feeling here? There's no bead. But it's almost.
Let's see, hand to
It's
Chris.
almost too.
Hand to
That's too
Chris.
short to be a penny. What is it?
No, you
You
had
got
right.
penny.
I got it. This
We're gonna
penny.
give you a
Okay, I'm
penny.
overthinking it.
It's the problem.
It's
Bravo.
Bravo.
Okay. Penny. Okay,
All right,
we're
we'll give you
gonna
the penny, though.
We're gonna give you that
We'll
one.
get you half a point there.
I just once I started overthinking it, it's like I feel like it's a millimeter more shiny. Oh. Innova DX. What the hell is it? I'm not.
Yeah,
It's
you're right, you
it's
got it.
VTech. Is it a rock or a?
You got Innova.
And it's a V mold.
Chris, can you hear me?
But I'm so lost. I'm cold.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Pretty close.
What is
It's zero.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, my bad.
Zero. And I actually picked it up by accident.
Really?
I thought it was.
I hadn't
an
noticed.
arrow.
I was wrong about.
I was trying to give you an arrow.
tech.
But
Yeah.
you did get the plastic. Once
Yeah, you got the
again,
I
plastic.
got everything.
You
It's
got the
just I was
plastic.
close. There were similarities, but I was off on
And you
what
got
I
the
was
penny
feeling
on this
the
one.
thing.
Yeah,
All right,
you-
Bud, right.
You're
Done.
one for one with you got both companies.
Okay. This one of y'all's?
Nope.
I didn't feel like your thing.
Yeah, no.
So it feels like Art Pro, but what is it?
Pretty close. Yeah, you're in the ballpark.
For real, God, I'm embarrassed.
All right,
It's
you
a
got it.
JK Aviator.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a second, I know this disc. I was overthinking it. Yeah, take a B
You're
plus and
probably
go
about a
home with
90.
my pride.
Yeah, low 90s. I'm gonna give you low 90s, which is incredible, really, when you consider
It's
all
not cool there'd be
all
a
the
pop quiz.
discs. Well, I think you did pretty well.
Oh Oh, thanks, man.
I just had to ask Jim because I'm a fan. He knows it of his write-ups on
yes.
Facebook. I love the articles, and I don't feel like he gets enough push, and enough love. And people don't understand how brilliant that writing is. What's your background with writing?
Writing? I don't know. I did it in high school, but not just because I did it. And then I found out what I was doing was good when I got to college. They first year down at a little church school, private college in Tennessee. Got to set up an honors program. They pushed the writing a bit, but then the whole thing was dissolved after one semester, and I just kind of sat on it for a long time until Facebook arrived. So I guess I've been kind of exploring it since 2010 or 2010.
Right on.
And
So true or false, you get most of your writing techniques because you were a closet Reader's Digest fan when you were young.
huge, true. I confess. I even read that famous old one in an original 1960s whatever that they based the entire search on that Oak Island show from. I read it in my church basement where they had stacks and stacks of these old things. Yeah.
Same here. I could be way off, but there's a little bit of Paul Harvey in there too.
Little listened to a lot of Paul Harvey growing up. Yeah, Grandpa played it. They played it a couple places I've worked. Been exposed to it just my entire life.
Yeah. Well, anything you'd like to, any message or any sponsors or anybody you'd like to thank before we end this thing?
I wish I had a sponsor. We got to thank Andy Flynn, Shoes the Shop, DG Pro Shop. If I want to send one message out to everybody, guys, I'm your lost and found guy. You have got to ink your discs, please. You give me a platform, I'm going to say it out loud because I've written it a million times. Write clearly, I want to get your disc home to you. Please help.
Right on. All right, thanks, Jim. We love you. Appreciate you. And
back at you.
We'll
guys.
do this again, man. We'll pull out some more discs off Andy's shelves in there. We'll test you out. So you need to be working on this, okay?
All right, I'll work on it.
All right.
Just for you, Kenny. All right. Appreciate it.
Nice job, Chris. Hey, first of all, I'm claiming the 80-cent tie-dye disc.
Okay.
That was behind us. I was like, 80 cents. Okay, I want that one.
That's mine. No, but I thought that was a really good job, you and Jim. Hidden treasure there. I do love his writings. Totally agree with you there. It takes me back to the Reader Digest, and you nailed it with the Paul Harvey. I know that's probably dating you and I to this audience, but the other ones who are of our age understand who Paul Harvey was as well. Mm-hmm. So very eloquent the way that man could talk and orate. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely underappreciated, Mr. Jim. We appreciate him. Yeah.
Lots of fun there.
Yeah.
Well, we just happened to wrangle in our next guest as well. Big things are happening coming up this weekend, and we'd like to welcome back to the show Mr. Matt Stillwagon of Still Banging. Matt, how are you doing this evening?
Good, guys. How's it going?
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man.
Likewise, dude. I'm on my back porch and the storm is rolling in, so I'm getting.
I can hear it. Yeah, I can hear it from here. It sounds great.
Yeah, I can see it outside my window as well.
I was did a little touch up on a vent hood today. The shop was 140 degrees in there. Yeah, it was hot. It was smoking hot. It's like a welding shop. But,
building in a neighborhood with no power right now, I sympathize with you, my friend.
Oh my God, those guys that work in there, man. And they, he was just sitting there having lunch, reading his paper like it was nothing, I guess you get used to, get acclimated to it.
Oh yeah. So
I was like just kind of like brainstorming all things Matt Stillwagon. And and I came up with, I usually send Chris ideas, and I was busy, so I got one of the ideas for his memes and all his stuff, and I was going to send him one. Mr. Gadget came up because you like to take disc golf and sort of mess with it a little bit, and like with the BOD, Valley Cali, Pro, doubles, team golf, and now upcoming the Handicap League, I guess year two. And and the other one I came up with was the Energizer Bunny. So maybe for our memes to advertise this show, we'll get Chris to do something crazy with that stuff. But and multiple rounds. When I first met you, we'd play until we almost passed out.
Oh yeah.
And then longtime president of the Northside Chain Gang, and then now running Still Banging all the chains. And you have actually a full-time job on top of that, and one of the best dads I know. So how do you do all that stuff?
Hey, Matt, before you answer that, one of y'all got a volume up on your phone. I don't know what it is, but it's getting feedback because you're talking and I'm hearing it.
Let me see. It's not me.
Is that better?
Much.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess I would say, to be honest with you, I'm very fortunate. It certainly makes life a little easier when your kids are kind of into the sport as well. That's a big deal. That's enabled me to do a lot. My wife is not a big disc golf fan, but she is so supportive. And over the years behind every good man is a even better woman. Well, I am not a good man, so that is one hell of a woman to put up with me. But I do it all with the support of my family, and I'm one of those people that believes idle hands are the devil's work. I'm not the most religious person, but I know my trouble times usually come when I've got nothing else to do. So keeping me busy is a good thing for me, and I'd rather put that energy into something that benefits the community,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amen to that for sure. You don't have to be religious to know idle hands.
Yeah.
that whole thing. But yeah. So what's going on now with the Handicap League? I think that's the next thing up.
Well, actually, the next thing up is we've got our minor league disc golf tour, 2 putts and a prayer. That's coming up this Saturday, as a matter of fact. Anybody's welcome to play. This marks the 3rd event out of 6, so there's plenty of room for people to move up in the standings for the bonus cash and the Prodigy basket points chase. 4 Prodigy baskets up for grabs. So there's a lot going on. Every amateur player gets a $30 voucher to the store, automatic. And it's a good time, and we're going out to Grace Point, which is a fun 9-hole course. So all the CTP holes, you're going to get 4 shots at that day, because you're going to play 2 rounds of 9 makes 18. So that's 4 rounds of 9 on that course. Course is half shaded, half open, but plays super quick. So we're going to beat the heat as best we can and get this 3rd one in and really enjoy ourselves. But we reload almost immediately afterwards to go into year 2 of the Handicap League. We had Handicap League in November, December of last year, but we decided to move it to the summer this year because we got such a busy fall and winter coming up that we needed to make some room on the schedule. So, every time that you try something new as a business, you learn from the experiences, and that's one of the things you have to keep an open mind with if you're one of those guys that tweaks disc golf events like I do. You got to constantly be willing to admit where you need to make changes, and we made those changes this year. Last year we had one of our players who found a way around the handicap system via inebriation to the point where a not true handicap was issued to this person, and lo and behold, they played the rest of the league round sober and ended up winning in the end. We'll leave that person nameless, but if you've seen the belts from last year, you'll figure out who it is real quick. This year, the way that we're going to actually combat that is we decided, Chris had a great idea. We're going to make the placement tournament for the handicap C tier. And that way we can follow PDGA rules, which eliminates the alcohol concern. And because people don't want to have bad ratings, it should enable them to play more to a true self rather than throwing a potential round and not being placed correctly. So on top of that, we're also instituting a 10-stroke maximum because I want to keep things a little more equitable. You get to these large numbers, and if you're really shooting that large of a number, it's easier for you to make strides to get significantly better than it is for a guy at the top with a 0 handicap to define the difference between a good round and a bad round being 2 or 3 strokes. Whereas to a rec player with a 16-stroke handicap, having a overall big deal will really make a big difference with that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So 10 strokes will be the maximum there. And, we're doing it over 2 different courses, Bear Branch and Stonebridge, rather than doing 1 course. So it'll be a truer mix. We're not going to do the handicap based off of the course par. We're actually going to take the SSA for the 2 courses combined and come up with that as a way to establish players' handicaps through the tournament. And then after that, it's just singles rounds every weekend in July. Play 3 rounds minimum, 4 rounds. You get to drop your worst round, stack your scores up, and take a run at the cash in the belt.
Would you describe SSA a little bit?
Yeah, in
Is
this
that like a
particular
score
instance,
separation?
this is a loose terminology of it. Scratch scoring average, usually determined with a PDGA to help establish what the 1,000 rated round is on a given course for a given round based off of a certain number of propagators and the average score that they come up with. And that usually is the score to get to that 1,000 rating, if you will, for that round. In this particular instance, it bears noting because these 2 courses are easier. So the thing is it really punishes the pro player that comes out there and plays both those courses well and can end up with a 0 handicap. But if you get enough of those players in there, it may drag it so that the course score down actually ends up making it so that some of your mid-level advanced and open players will have an actual handicap because it's not against course par, but what the field shot as an average.
Gotcha. Well, that's yeah. This is totally Matt Stillwagon ballpark right here. It's like I was reading the new PDJ or Disc Golfer magazine came out. It's talking about how to run a tournament, and it says something. The very first thing is like reach out to somebody with experience. And I just remember my time with you when we right before COVID shut us down. You basically ran the tournament for Chris and I, and I appreciate the knowledge and all that you bring to our area, man. It's invaluable. It's like it's good stuff. We really appreciate that. So I don't know if I'd be into a match play or a handicap kind of thing. I would just have to go and play it. And I guess that's my recommendation. If you're like me and you have no idea what Matt just said, just go and play it and see how it plays out. See how it works for you. I've never done a handicap tournament ever.
David, it's really interesting. We rely so heavily on singles and doubles formats around here. And one of the popular doubles formats to keep people interested is the A pool, B pool format. This handicap concept, I mean, I've been very fortunate to travel and play the game a lot and learn in different areas of the country. The disc golf of Southeast Texas, as you well know, is not the disc golf of Kansas City, is not the disc golf of Northeast Maine, is not the disc golf of Ohio or Michigan. And that's part of what makes the game so great, is going to these different areas and getting to see different versions of. And I really enjoy getting to take some of what I learned from up there in Maine, where I was. You don't have all these clubs, all the courses. Oh, that was loud thunder. All the courses are pay to play up there. And the interesting thing is that in that pay to play model, you go to your local course and they actually keep a fluid handicap that gets updated weekly. Every time you go and play around, you turn your card in at the
the clubhouse in a bucket, and they take them at the end of the week, and they tabulate your score, and you have a running handicap. They take your last 20 rounds, drop your best, drop your worst, and take the best 10 out of the remainder and establish that handicap against the course. So on Sundays, they go out and they play an A pool, B pool mini, but it's a true random draw with it. And the way that they do it is all the players that show up have a handicap. So if you get 20 players that show up and the average of their handicaps is, say, 7, that's the true cut line for the field that you have there. So they use it to play singles, but they also use it as a fair way to do draws for doubles as well. So it's not really as much of an experiment. It's an experiment down here because, well, not many people have done it that way down here, but that's kind of what I like about it. I think we haven't seen the best of disc golf yet. I'm on a show every once in a while called Leppy Duels, and it's like ESPN's Pardon the Interruption, but for disc golf, and it's really kind of cool. You know, yeah, that was me too. I flickered too.
Yeah. And again,
there you
go. We'll see.
Hey, well, just so you know, our power went off, so we might not have gotten about the last 5 minutes of that. I've only got about 2 minutes.
Came back in.
Yeah, I think we may have to cut this short. This is
Right.
like getting bad out here. And I've seen Chris have to jet out like 2-3 times.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and reset. I mean, I can catch up if you guys want to can this episode or something like that.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome,
Yeah,
man.
sounds good.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right. Thanks, man.
Bye, man.
Appreciate
Okay.
you.
Okay, bye-bye.